Throughout 2020 and into 2021, millions of Americans remain enclosed indoors working remotely during the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. Given the need for heavy caution toward gathering in dense public places, life surrounded by screens and walls slowly became the norm. Unfortunately, in the process of protecting our physical health during this pandemic, a large gap was left in doing the same for our mental health, with the 1 in 10 Americans reporting symptoms of anxiety or depression prior to the pandemic increasing to 4 in 10.
The coronavirus.
Coronavirus.
The coronavirus.
Called a coronavirus.
Coronavirus. New coronavirus cases.
Proves the first COVID rapid test on vaccine is 95% effective.
Olmsted had his own struggles with mental health that resurfaced throughout his life with his frantic work-life balance. From the loss of his mother at a young age to hopping around between schools during his adolescence to even losing his first child, and toward the end of his life, being hospitalized in the same institution he had consulted on during his career. Knowing this, it's apparent why, consciously or unconsciously, mental health was a consistent theme throughout Frederick Olmsted's life, and this was reflected in his passion to create spaces that provide a break from the stressors of everyday life. With this in mind, the work of urban green spaces and parks made for widespread public use is now all the more important while mental health services may be inaccessible for a variety of reasons. Studies show that public parks and green spaces can serve as valuable resources in reducing symptoms of anxiety and depression. Olmsted designed his landscapes carefully and intentionally, using natural tools and elements to strategically craft scenes out of spaces carved out from busy urban surroundings to create moments of peace and calm. Even in his own home, spaces like the Hollow were sculpted using natural rock formations to create an enclosed dip full of lush greenery, obscuring views and noise from outside of it. The widely recognized moment in which Olmsted began his career as a landscape architect was the Central Park in New York City, a landmark green space surrounded by a dense, fast-paced urban environment. In this, he was able to carve a space in one of the busiest cities in the United States where New Yorkers and other visitors could step out of the constant noise and enjoy a rare moment outdoors to catch their breath. This was only the start of the public parks Olmsted would bring to life during his career, all of which have the same effect. Aside from parks, Olmsted ventured into designing landscapes for institutions such as McLean Hospital. He was one of the earliest individuals thinking of the needs for those with mental ailments, likely because of his own experiences creating a sympathy within him. In today's times, as we move through a global pandemic that has blurred the lines between home and work, the importance of neutral green space to alleviate stress in, as pictured by Olmsted, is much clearer. Throughout the Boston area, Olmsted's work designing parks and green space such as those in the Emerald Necklace have provided natural refuges within such a busy urban space with beautiful parks that many people enjoy on a daily basis. However, studies have shown that easy access to public parks or green spaces largely depends on race and socioeconomic status, with non-white communities often living larger distances from parks or having access to much smaller ones. Considering this disparity of access, it is important to recognize who can and cannot afford to live closer to Olmsted's vast, carefully designed spaces, all of which were meant to be places to serve the entirety of the public and not just select groups. The difference, not only in proximity to parks, but in the size or quality of them as well, can often be seen visually. With recognizable disparity in mental health service use between white populations and Black, Latino, and Asian populations, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, this difference with park quality or size can have an impact on one's ability to manage their conditions in accessible ways through engaging in time and green space. Looking at Olmsted's Emerald Necklace specifically, through the City of Boston's Climate Ready map, there are patterns of areas where residents of color, represented in red, are displayed having varying levels of access to these green spaces, showing a need for both further park access and engagement that can encourage more use of these spaces. Frederick Law Olmsted's legacy is one of service to the public. He was a pioneer in his early thoughts on improving health of the mind, a rare consideration in his time. His vision for preservation and enjoyment of green spaces expanded beyond just those in urban areas like Central Park, pushing for establishment of larger protected areas containing natural landscapes in the environment. areas that would eventually become the national parks that we know and love today. Public lands must be conserved and protected. It's fitting that the National Park Service has such strong ties to Olmsted's legacy of preserving natural and cultural resources for the greater benefit of the public's mental and bodily health.